Okay, so last but not least, we're now going to put this whole process together. We've talked about how to complete the square. And again, remember, this is not building one of those. This is building one of those, the squares. All right, it was just a process. We talked about a little cheating. The C stands for cut in half. The S stands for squaring. So we know the process. And then just recently, we've talked about how to solve. Talk about the lightning bolt, the plus and minus, positive, negative ions, stuff like that. So now we're going to put the whole process together. Okay? So let's take a look at example 1. All right. So example 1. So let's complete the square. So you know step 1 is get rid of the constant. And again, for this week, we're going to keep everything pretty much on one side, so we can not worry about all the getting things to one side and then bring the constant back over. So we've got x squared minus 16x, and I wasn't really good on the last set of notes, but I would always put a blank here, and I actually put a blank here, knowing that you're going to be putting something on the same side. So from there, we take the middle number, and we bring it to the side, and we do our thing. We take negative 16, we cut it in half, that's the C for completing the square, which gives us negative 8. And then we are going to square that number. And we know it always turns into a positive, even though I'm not putting parentheses because I'm being lazy, which gives me a positive 64. Okay? That's the number that's going here and here. Okay? Now, again, I cheat because I know that the first step of cutting it in half is always going to be my factor. So I'm just going to show you guys. This is automatic for me. It's a shortcut. It's a cheat. I know it's always going to turn back into that number. Guaranteed. Now the real way I'm supposed to do it is I'm supposed to factor. Right? And tell me what two numbers. Multiply to 64. Add to negative 16. You could do the two negatives. But again, I know it's always going to be the same number. And I always know it's going to be my first step. So you really, once you get good at it, don't have to do that middle step. Okay? So x minus 8 squared equals, and then we'll put those two together. Looks like a nice easy one. Okay? Phase 1, we just completed the square. Now phase 2 is to solve. We talked about this last week. In order to get rid of a square, we square root. Boom. Whatever you do to one side, you do the other. We also know anytime you do a lightning bolt, you got positive and negative ions. Okay, so we end up with x minus 8. Again, the square and the square root cancel each other out. I'm just going to highlight this and make sure you guys are solid what I'm talking about. Squares and square roots always cancel each other out. That's why we're doing it in the first place. Okay? Alright, so then it's the last step. Oops, sorry about that. Let me get my color right. Plus 8. Plus 8. So I got x equals 8 plus or minus. Oh, I'm going to stop for a second. I should have done this already. I should have taken square root of 1 and tested it. You guys know that the square root of 1 is a whole number, just 1. Sorry about that. Okay, so I got 8 plus or minus 1. And then, of course, we just split it into two equations. 8 plus 1 and 8 minus 1. So I get x equals 9 and x equals 7. That was a little sloppy, but you guys get the idea. So again, the process is complete the square and solve. Okay? All right, that was a rational answer. Now let's take one that's a little nastier. And again, they're not that bad. So let's zoom in and get rolling here. Okay, so let's complete the square. We know that it's going to be, get the constant over to the other side. So it looks like x squared minus 6x. I'm going to get ready to complete the square. So I know I got something coming. And I got 66. And again, whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. So I'm ready to roll. Okay? We know the steps are completing the square. C, cut it in half. Negative 6 divided by 2. Negative 3. I know that that is the cheat. That's going to be my spot right now. I can pretty much, I'm cheating. I can pretty much put that down here because I know it always is. Okay, but we have to square it in order to get the number that we introduced to both sides. We are creating something that is that factors always into a perfect square. That's what we've done. We've created that, and it always turns into this. I'm skipping the middle step. Okay, 75. So complete the square, and now we're ready to solve. Again, anytime I get a squared, and again I'll highlight just to make sure we're solid. Anytime I get a squared, I know how to get rid of that. Okay, it's going to be square root. They cancel each other out. Whatever I do to one side, I do the other. Lightning bolt creates positive and negative ions. So these cancel each other out. X minus 3. I've got a plus or minus square root of 75. And right away I'm going to take 75 over here. I know it's not a perfect whole number. So I've got to do my terrible list. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Most of you guys know anytime you see something that looks like loose change, 75 cents, it's going to be 25. So 75 breaks up into 25 and 3. And again, you guys in Rooney's and Schultes are going to have 25 and root 3. You guys do double. Okay. Either way, we get 5 coming out, 5 coming out. So either way, I get 5 root 3. Okay. So we'll put that. We'll save that for later. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So it's going to be x equals 3. And I'm going to be lazy and just plug this in right now. Plus or minus 5 root 3. And again, some people do that on the next step. You know, it doesn't matter. Eventually it's going to break down to that. If you gave an answer of x equals 3 plus or minus square root of 75, you'd be right, just not simplified. Okay, so this is the one, of course, the tests and Delta Math and all the college level guys, they're going to protect. Okay, so again, complete the square, cut it in half, square it, factor it, and solve. Okay, let's reset this. All right, guys, so I'm going to slide this up a little bit and let you guys see. Your assignment is just to do 2 problems. Just do 2 problems. Those bad boys right there. Okay, 2 problems, follow them all the way through. One is rational, one's irrational. I'll put the answers on the assignment, and we'll talk to you guys on Monday.